Welcome to our deep dive into Stephen King's The Stand.
It's a sprawling epic
Yeah,
that
it really is.
throws us headfirst into this world,
A post-apocalyptic.
ravaged by a superflu.
Yeah, and King paints a chilling picture of this superflu, Captain Trips, wiping out 99% of humanity.
It's brutal.
Oh, yeah.
Just decimation of society as we know it.
It's just gone. And the story really kicks off with the virus escaping from a government lab in California.
Right, yeah.
What happens next? I mean, this feels like a domino effect, right?
Absolutely. We see the terrifying speed at which this pandemic unfolds, from patient zero to global catastrophe.
Yeah.
It's like watching a house of cards collapse, and King doesn't shy away from the gruesome detail.
No, he doesn't.
The sickness, the fear, the disintegration of law and order. It's a stark reminder of how fragile civilization can be.
It really is.
Yeah.
Like the world suddenly turned upside down.
Yeah.
And we see the impact of this collapse through the eyes of our main characters, right?
Yes, we're introduced to a handful of survivors, each with their own story, their own set of strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah. One of the first we meet is Stu Redman, this Texan everyman who seems to have an innate sense of what needs to be done.
Yeah, Stu is in Arnett, Texas when the outbreak hits.
Right.
He's immune, which leads him to a military facility where he witnesses firsthand the government's desperate attempts to contain the virus. But he eventually escapes, realizing he can't trust the authorities.
So he sets out on his own, venturing into this new, terrifying world.
Precisely. And along the way, he encounters other survivors,
Yeah.
forming tentative alliances as they try to make sense of what's happened.
It's a lonely world out there.
Yeah.
Another key character is Franny Goldsmith, who starts her journey in Maine. Her situation is particularly poignant, isn't it?
Yes, we meet Franny in the small town of Ogunquit.
Okay.
She's pregnant and faces the double blow of losing her loved ones to the virus and coming to terms with motherhood in a world gone mad.
Wow.
It's a testament to human resilience.
It really is.
Yeah.
She's forced to confront this new reality while carrying life within her. Heavy stuff. Now we also have Larry Underwood,
Yeah.
the troubled musician who seems to be running from his past as much as the plague. What's his story?
Larry is in New York City when the outbreak hits. He's a self-absorbed character, wrestling with his own demons, trying to find redemption in the midst of this chaos.
Okay, and we can't forget Nick Andros, who's dealing with a whole different set of challenges, right?
Absolutely. Nick is deaf and mute. He's in Shoyo, Arkansas, when things fall apart.
Okay.
Despite being unable to hear or speak, he has a sharp mind and a strong moral compass, which helps him navigate the dangers of this new world.
It's fascinating how King creates this tapestry of characters from such diverse backgrounds.
It's part of what makes The Stand so compelling. It's a story about humanity as a whole, represented by this microcosm of individuals facing unimaginable circumstances.
Yeah, and as these characters journey through this ravaged landscape, they start having these vivid dreams.
Yes.
Right?
Dreams and vision.
Yeah, it's like a supernatural element starts to creep into this story.
That's right. Some are drawn to the image of Mother Abigail, an elderly woman who embodies goodness and faith.
Yeah.
Others are pulled towards Randall Flagg, a sinister figure representing the dark side of human nature.
It's like there's this sense of destiny at play, almost like they're being called to something greater than themselves.
King masterfully weaves this supernatural element into the narrative. It adds another layer of intrigue, questioning whether the survivors are simply reacting to the chaos or being guided by a higher power.
Yeah, it's like there are these two opposing forces at work, vying for control of what's left of humanity.
Exactly. And as these survivors make their way across America, we see them gravitating towards either Mother Abigail or Randall Flagg. It sets the stage for a monumental clash between good and evil.
So, Mother Abigail, she seems like this beacon of hope in all this darkness.
She's portrayed as this wise, maternal figure emanating a calming presence. She preaches about love, compassion, and the importance of rebuilding society based on cooperation and understanding. Those drawn to her seek solace and guidance.
So she becomes a symbol of hope, offering a path towards a better future. What about Randall Flagg? He seems like the antithesis of Mother Abigail. What's he all about?
Flagg is shrouded in mystery and menace. He represents power, darkness, and the baser instincts of humanity.
Yeah, he's appealing to their fear and desperation, right?
Yeah.
Offering a different kind of salvation.
Exactly. He promises order and control in exchange for loyalty and obedience. His followers are drawn to his charisma and the sense of security, however illusory that he provides.
Yeah, it's like two sides of the same coin. Hope versus despair, Light versus darkness.
You hit the nail on the head. The survivors are essentially choosing between two fundamentally different paths forward.
Right.
It's a choice that will determine the fate of humanity.
As we move deeper into the book, we see these survivors forming two distinct communities, right?
That's right. Mother Abigail's followers establish a community in Boulder, Colorado. They strive to create a new society based on democracy, cooperation, and a return to more traditional values.
So they're trying to rebuild civilization from the ashes, clinging to the hope of a better future.
Meanwhile, Flagg's followers gather in Las Vegas.
Right.
Seduced by his promises of power and dominance, they establish a totalitarian regime built on fear and obedience, where dissent is swiftly and brutally punished.
It's a stark contrast,
Yep.
a glimpse into two possible outcomes for humanity.
The tension mounts as these communities solidify their positions. King sets the stage for a confrontation that will determine the fate of what's left of the world.
Okay, so we've got the stage set for this epic showdown. What happens next?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. Both sides send out scouts seeking information, testing each other's strengths. It's a dangerous game of cat and mouse with the stakes incredibly high.
We see these two worlds collide, the ideologies clashing, the tension building.
Precisely, and it all culminates in a perilous mission as a small group from Boulder is sent to infiltrate Las Vegas.
Oh man, this sounds like it's going to get intense.
It certainly does. This mission is a turning point in the story, fraught with danger and sacrifice.
All right, before we dive into that heart-stopping mission, let's wrap up this part of our deep dive. When we come back, we'll pick up the story as this brave group ventures into the heart of Flagg's territory. Stay tuned. So we left off with a group from Boulder, heading into the Lion's Den, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Who are these brave souls risking their lives to infiltrate Flagg's stronghold?
Well, the group consists of Stu Redman,
Yeah.
the clear-headed Texan we met earlier, Glenn Bateman, a cynical sociology professor with a sharp wit, Larry Underwood, the musician still searching for redemption, and Ralph Brentner, a quiet but dependable farmer. Each brings their own strengths to this incredibly dangerous mission.
What's their plan? I mean, Las Vegas is a heavily guarded city controlled by a ruthless dictator.
Mm-hmm.
How do they even begin to approach this?
Their journey is fraught with danger. They travel mostly at night, navigating the desolate landscape, avoiding Flagg's patrols, and relying on their instincts to survive.
I can only imagine the psychological toll this journey takes on them. I mean, it's not just the physical dangers, right? It's the constant fear, the isolation, the weight of their mission.
You're absolutely right. King does a fantastic job of conveying the mental and emotional strain this journey takes on them. They're haunted by their pasts, the loss of their loved ones, and the uncertainty of the future.
Makes you wonder how you would even handle something like that.
Right.
And to make matters worse, tragedy strikes early in their journey, doesn't it?
Yes. As they're traveling through a tunnel, a rock slide traps them. Glenn Bateman is mortally wounded, and in a truly selfless act, he sacrifices himself to allow the others to escape.
Oh, wow.
It's a heartbreaking loss.
Really is. Underscores the fragility of life in this new world.
Yeah.
Even the most intelligent and resourceful can be taken in an instant. How's the group cope with this loss?
Well, they mourn Glenn, but they know they have to keep moving. His death serves as a stark reminder of the importance of their mission. They press on, determined to honor his sacrifice by completing the task they set out to do.
They finally reach Las Vegas, a stark contrast to the peaceful community they left behind in Boulder.
Right.
What's it like inside Flagg's domain?
King paints a vivid picture of Las Vegas under Flagg's rule. It's a city fueled by excess, where cruelty is entertainment, and fear is the primary motivator. Public executions, gladiator-style fights to the death, and a pervasive atmosphere of paranoia are the norm.
It's just a chilling depiction of what happens when power is left unchecked. How do Stu, Larry, and Ralph manage to blend in and avoid detection in this oppressive environment?
They keep a low profile, observing Flagg's operation from the shadows. Their goal is to gather intelligence, find a weakness, and exploit it.
Do they discover anything that could potentially disrupt Flagg's hold on the city?
Yes, they realize that Flagg's power relies heavily on technology, specifically electricity. He's essentially built his entire regime on a foundation of modern conveniences.
So they're kind of spoiled in a way.
Right. They also learn that he's deeply superstitious, believing his power is tied to an ancient talisman.
Interesting. Those vulnerabilities could be their key to dismantling his power. What happens next? Do they manage to put their plan into action?
Unfortunately, their presence is discovered. A chase ensues, and Ralph is captured and brutally executed by Flagg's forces. It's a devastating blow and a grim reminder of the enemy's ruthlessness.
So now it's down to Stu and Larry. What happens to them? How do they escape this nightmare?
They manage to evade capture, but Stu is seriously injured in the process. It becomes a desperate race against time as Larry tries to get Stu to safety while avoiding Flagg's men.
So their situation seems dire.
Yeah.
How do they escape Las Vegas with Stu injured and Flagg's forces closing in?
They get a stroke of luck. They encounter Tom Cullen, a character we met earlier in the book who is separated from Mother Abigail's group. Tom is a simple, kind-hearted man with a developmental disability. He also happens to have a small plane hidden away.
No way. It's almost too good to be true. A pilot and a plane in the middle of all this chaos.
I know.
Sounds like fate intervened.
It does. Tom, despite his challenges, is drawn to goodness and agrees to help them escape. They fly out of Las Vegas, leaving behind the city's darkness and heading towards an uncertain future.
While they escape, what's happening back in Las Vegas? How does Randall Flagg react to this intrusion?
Well, he's furious, of course. He's aware of the intruders and their escape. He senses the forces of good working against him and vows to crush them.
So the conflict intensifies. What happens next? Does this escape signal the final showdown?
Mother Abigail, sensing the impending confrontation, sends a different group to Las Vegas. This time, it's a group led by Franny Goldsmith, who is now heavily pregnant.
Wow, that's a bold move.
Yeah.
Sending a pregnant woman into the heart of enemy territory. Who else goes with her?
She's accompanied by Nadine Cross, a woman who has been struggling with her loyalties throughout the book, and Nick Andros, the deaf-mute, who has shown remarkable strength and resilience.
It's a diverse group, each with their own strengths and vulnerabilities. What's their mission?
They are sent to confront Flagg directly. This is no longer about gathering intelligence or disrupting his operations. This is about facing evil head-on. It's a mission driven by faith and desperation, a last stand against the forces of darkness.
Wow, the tension is palpable.
Yeah.
This is it, the final battle we've been waiting for. What happens when they reach Las Vegas?
Their journey is arduous, filled with its own set of challenges, but their determination pushes them forward. Eventually, they arrive at Flagg's stronghold, ready to face their destiny.
Do they confront Flagg head-on? How does this confrontation unfold?
The confrontation is more nuanced than a direct physical battle. Remember, Flagg is a master manipulator. He preys on people's fears and weaknesses, using psychological warfare to break their spirits.
So he tries to turn them against each other. You mentioned Nadine was struggling with her loyalties. Does Flagg exploit that?
Yes, he does. He uses his dark powers to sow discord, manipulating Nadine, exploiting her insecurities, and turning her against her companions.
That's heartbreaking. What about Franny and Mick? How do they hold up against Flagg's mind games?
They remain steadfast in their belief in Mother Abigail and the power of good. They understand that fear and division are Flagg's primary weapons, and they refuse to succumb to them.
So it's a battle of wills as much as a physical confrontation. The fate of humanity hangs in the balance as these forces of good and evil clash. This is getting really intense, but unfortunately we're out of time for this part of our deep dive. Don't worry, though, we'll be back to cover the thrilling conclusion of The Stand in our final segment. All right, so Franny and Nick face off against Randall Flagg in his own territory, a battle for the very soul of humanity. So where do we go from here?
Well, the confrontation is set in Flagg's opulent palace in Las Vegas, a stark symbol of the decadence and corruption of his regime.
Right.
And he uses every psychological trick he can to undermine Franny and Nick, hoping to break their spirits before the fight even begins.
He's a master manipulator, as we've seen throughout the story. And you mentioned last time that he had turned Nadine against her companions. What ultimately becomes of her?
Sadly, Nadine fully succumbs to Flagg's influence. He preys on her deepest insecurities and desires, twisting her loyalty and using her as a pawn in his twisted game. It's a tragic end for a character who is so conflicted.
Yeah, a reminder that evil doesn't always wear a monstrous face. Sometimes it seduces and corrupts from within.
Right.
How do Franny and Nick cope with this betrayal? Are they able to withstand Flagg's onslaught?
They show remarkable resilience. Franny, despite her physical vulnerability being heavily pregnant, stands firm in her faith and belief in a better world. Nick, with his quiet strength and unwavering loyalty, supports her, a steadfast guardian against the darkness.
They seem to embody the very essence of hope and defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. So how does this final showdown actually play out? Is it a direct confrontation?
It's more complex than that. Remember, Flagg thrives on control and fear. He wants to break their spirits, make them doubt everything they believe in.
So it's a battle for their minds as much as anything else.
Precisely. And Franny and Nick recognize this. They refuse to give in to despair or fear, drawing strength from their faith in Mother Abigail and the dream of a world reborn.
Their courage is inspiring. How does Flagg react to their refusal to break?
He's enraged by their defiance. He unleashes his full power, attempting to destroy them both physically and emotionally. But this is where his arrogance comes into play. He believes himself invincible, almost godlike.
So pride comes before the fall. Does his arrogance lead to his downfall?
In a way, yes. In a desperate act of defiance, Nick uses Flagg's own talisman against him. He hurls it into a crowd of Flagg's followers, creating chaos and disrupting the control Flagg has so carefully cultivated.
What a bold move.
Yeah.
What happens when the talisman is thrown into the crowd?
It explodes in a blinding flash of light. This unexpected turn of events throws Flagg completely off balance, weakening his power and causing his followers to panic.
It's like the rug was pulled out from under him. What about Franny and Nick? Are they caught in the blast?
They are shielded from the worst of it, but the chaos that follows is intense. Las Vegas erupts into anarchy as Flagg's control evaporates.
So what happens to Flagg? Is this the end of him?
Not quite. He's weakened, but still dangerous. He disappears into the chaos, vowing revenge. He's a force that may never be fully extinguished.
Chilling.
Yeah.
And what about Franny and Nick? Do they escape the destruction of Las Vegas?
Yes, with the help of Tom Cullen, who arrives just in time with his plane,
Of course.
they manage to flee the city and return to Boulder.
A bittersweet victory, I imagine. They've survived, but at a tremendous cost.
You're right. Their return is marked by both joy and sorrow. Mother Abigail, sensing the climax of the battle, peacefully passes away. It's a devastating loss for the community, but her spirit and message of hope continue to inspire them.
She lives on in the hearts and minds of those she touched. What about the threat of Randall Flagg? He wasn't completely destroyed, right?
True. His evil lingers a shadow over their hard-won peace. But the book ends on a note of cautious optimism. Franny gives birth to a healthy baby girl, a symbol of hope and new beginnings. The community in Boulder continues to grow and thrive, demonstrating the resilience of the human spirit even in the face of unimaginable horrors.
It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, life goes on. There's always hope for renewal and the strength to rebuild. What does this all mean for us, the readers? What can we take away from this deep dive into the Stand?
It's a story that explores the depths of human nature, the struggle between good and evil, the power of faith, and the importance of community. It's a reminder that even when civilization crumbles, humanity endures. It's a testament to our capacity for both great darkness and remarkable resilience.
Yeah, The Stand is certainly a book that stays with you long after you've finished reading it. What stands out to you most about this epic tale?
For me, it's the characters' individual journeys. Seeing how ordinary people respond to extraordinary circumstances, how they grapple with loss, fear, and difficult choices, is what makes this story so compelling. It's a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming darkness, we have the capacity for courage, compassion, and the will to rebuild.
And it leaves us with a thought-provoking question. If you were thrust into a similar apocalyptic scenario, what choices would you make? Would you seek hope in community, or would you be tempted by the allure of power? It's a question worth pondering, even as we navigate the complexities of our own world. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into The Stand. We hope you found it as thought-provoking and engaging as we did. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the stories that shape our world.